And welcome to another episode of Daily Market Mastery with me, Christian Rauchenwald, on this rainy, I think we have Thursday, if I'm not mistaken, yes. I hope you all had a great trading week so far. As always, before we jump into the markets, let's get the usual disclaimer out of the way. Everything that I share in this live stream / video is my personal opinion and in no way financial or professional advice of any kind. You should always do your own research, consult certified professionals, draw your own conclusions, and make your own decisions. Besides that, all the tools that I'm using during the stream / video are linked in the video description down below. So if you're curious about the brokerage I'm using, the charting software, or the strategy I'm following, you can check out the links in the description below. And one thing I always recommend, if you're here for the first time and you haven't done so, go and check out the Elliott Wave Principle, which you can read online for free when you're using the link in the description down below. Or you can use the same link to get yourself a physical copy as well. With that said, let's jump into it. And before I'm going to comment on what's going on, I'm quickly going to fix the camera setting, but not crossbar, configure video, because it jumps to the wrong anti-frequency, which makes it flicker. There we go. That's fixed. So now circling back here. Okay, so we can see we have another pretty much break-even starting to the day. The first thing I want to cover today, yesterday during the stream, that you can obviously find on the channel and check out if you want to. I opened, do we still see it here? Yes, I opened 10 585 SPY call options and 582 SPY call options that expire today. We can see I got the 585 call options for $2 per piece, and I sold them later for $5 per piece. And I got the 582 option for $7 per piece and sold them for $35 per piece. Now, if we circle or take a look, basically pretty much what happened, and we're going to have to zoom out first. I think we usually have the 8-hour time frame here visible. So based on that, it looked like we're going to get a strong movement up, because it looks like we're having a 1, 2, 3, 4, and now we're in wave 5. And in that wave 5, we potentially have a 1, 2, and now the beginning of wave 3 pattern. And so it came that basically yesterday pretty much, I don't know where we got in, roughly here somewhere. Do we see the time there? Let's see, let's check. Yes, we got in at 4 p.m. So that we got in basically here at the, 4 p.m. here. So pretty much at the start of the upwards movement, where we then saw this upwards move. Unfortunately, I did not sell the options here. There, they would have been a little bit worth a little bit more, but I sold them then at 21.52, 21.53. So that's then 52, 53. Actually here. So technically, I sold them better. However, as far as the price goes, the price was still better here for those options, simply because there was more theta decay left. So that was close. That was very close before the market closed. And here, there was still the strong upwards movement going on. So the implied volatility was higher and more time was left for that day. So here I would have gotten a little bit more money for the same options. Unfortunately, I said, I did not close them out here. I mean, as always, as you know, if you're watching regularly, I'm not actively watching the charts all the time. So I'm just roughly, I basically dedicate 30 minutes to an hour during this live stream to manage the portfolio. And then if needed, I just set myself a reminder and check later. So unfortunately, I missed that movement. Now, if we're looking at the 5-minute time frame where things get a little bit hard to label, it looks like what we have here is some kind of 1, 2, 3, 4, and wave 5, which potentially finishes up this third wave here at the 361.8 extension level. And the whole movement was also the reason why I decided yesterday to close them, because I did not know, or I wasn't certain until we had that breakout from here that we actually finished this 3, 4, 5. And then the bigger issue is, although I have to point out that was wrong, we didn't fully reach the minimum target that we would have here for the fifth wave. I actually thought initially we would go higher, because initially I thought, okay, we would go down to here. But we can see it's still here a perfect ABC pattern, although initially I thought it might be this part here. No, it's not perfect. Have to adjust that as well. That would then go like this. Yeah, pretty much still perfect. So we see that we reach down to the 100% expansion level, a little bit lower. For this ABC, we can remove that, and that needs to be adjusted, and we fell short here, which means we now have 1, 2, 3, and we're in wave 4. Wave 4 might have finished, so there might be upside, which means once the markets open, which will happen in a minute, we might actually want to jump into another round of calls. Although it's tricky to say for sure, we went a little bit further here. What we can do is we're gonna clean that up a little bit. So we finished basically wave 3 like this, and wave 4 we traced 38.2%. So there's a chance that wave 4 will take us down here, but there's also, we can get rid of this, we can get rid of this, we can, that we keep for now. And then basically we're retracing this wave 3 right now in SPY, and which means if we if that's the as low as we got, then yeah, I'm gonna see if I can do that fast enough. So my commentator might not keep up with what I'm doing for now, because obviously time is of the essence. So our profit target would be 578, and that would be for today. And so the best play that we could make would be none. 578.40, 578.41. No great place here, yeah. So touch the 50% retracement here. Question is if we'll get to see the 61.8 retracement as well. I mean, we're looking at a very, very close 5-minute chart. Now markets are already officially open, so we can actually check the SPY options here. So for today, yeah, like, I mean, we can see that the 582 options are relatively cheap. We wouldn't want to spend too much money on those. And however, the problem is 582 is so far away, and we see that the minimum target in this move, so even if our correction is already finished here, our target is here 578 to 580. So 582 option definitely is not in the cards. Now, if we take 580.78 as our target, even then, only a bull call spread would offer a 200% potential return. But again, that's the maximum target. So in 578.41 just doesn't make the cut to offer us any kind of reasonable return. Now, if you're wondering what I'm using or how I'm determining that, although you can check out option strat, it's also linked below, where you can basically just enter your ticker, enter your price target, and until which expiration, and then you get a forecast. Now, you would need to subscribe in order to get real-time data, which makes a little bit of a difference because the option premiums that I'm seeing here are obviously delayed by 15 minutes. So it changes the whole thing. But yeah, let's look at that for a second longer. The thing here, however, is you can go to max chance, max return. You can basically enter your budget to see options within the budget. And it tells you, for example, okay, there is a play if you buy the 577 the call, but you sell the 78 call, then you have $51 risk based on the premiums from 15 minutes ago. But if you're right, you make $49 profit, so 96% return, and so on. So yeah, if we go further out, you can also play around with the expiration date, and then you basically see different values. And I'm gonna have to circle back here. Yeah. The option that we had yesterday, I'm still a bit open here, although now the payout changed, yeah. So that was the combination that we had yesterday, the 5 times 582 and 585 for $61.50 in total. And we can see that I closed them yesterday, as said, with a profit. Again, so I paid $2 per option for this one, $7 per option for this one. So let's sum this up real quick. So yeah, that's $20 and $35. So I paid $55 for them total, and I sold them. So 35 times 5 and plus 50 minus 55. So I made a $170 return on, what did we say, 55? Yeah. So the other way around. So 170 divided by 55. Yeah. So 300% overall return on my investment. Now, obviously, it was a very small investment, but still That's how it turned out, because we got the option so cheap, and then there was a strong move that increased the price. Now, I could have made almost twice that, because at some point that option here was actually at $13 per option, yeah, which would have been, what's that, like $8 difference, so $80 more on that one, and that one was at $48 per option. So yeah, I could have made like $100 or more dollars more, so another 200. So I could have probably closed that if I would have got the idea to close it here. Could have probably closed it with a 500% return, which is incredible considering the little risk. Yeah, I mean the fixed risk and so on. But yeah, it was not meant to be to go like that, so I missed that. Yeah, and that here, as said, today that option is not as attractive anymore, because we see by the end of the day, so in the table view, by the end of the day, we would need to reach the 582 mark just to break even. And while I realized $170 profit, we would need to reach right now 578.50 to be in the same area. And as time goes by, it would get harder. So I think, I mean, there could be a strong move today, because I think we are overall still in the third wave move. There could be a strong move today, but I think that closing them yesterday and taking the profit was actually the smarter play. Originally, I considered for a brief moment, I considered for a brief moment when I was checking on my phone when we were in this area to just close the 585 calls for $60, $70 profit. So basically to cover my cost and let the others run. But then eventually I don't know, I chickened out. So it might be that I regret it. Maybe we get the run up today still, and I regret that I went out like that. Might be that I am happy that I at least got like the $170 profit out of that whole trade. It's not a lot, of course, but it still makes a difference in the long run. Every profitable trade does. And at the end, it comes down that you have more winners than losers, or that your winners are just so much bigger than your losers. Now, yeah. So the big question is how this correction here should be labeled. It should be in some form, some kind of ABC, or maybe it's ABC, wave X, and there is now another, so it's a double zigzag, for example, in which case we would get another push down. If we get that other push down, so corrections are the hard part of labeling. If you study the Elliott Wave Principle book, you might get better than I am with that very, very soon. But we can see if that is a second ABC pattern to follow, we would expect to go at least here at the 61.8 retracement, yeah. At which point then our profit target, however, so would also change, because then we would assume that we go down here, and we would assume then as a result that we only reach the 577.71. So let's check there. Again, I'm doing that on the other screen. 577.71 for SPY would be a neutral outlook. For today is a bullish outlook, and then we have, yeah, also no super great returns. Yeah, there are combinations that would work, but they all have like the best thing we get is like a 1-to-1 risk reward ratio, and I don't think that's worth it. Yeah. So yeah, should have risked more money yesterday, but we didn't have. We had like $80 in total, which brings us actually, we're gonna move on from SPY for now, because I think like we'll just have to wait and see. However, we can zoom out a little bit and see if maybe there we have a clearer picture. No, we don't. So we potentially finish 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for a 5-wave move in here, which still leaves 1, 2, next 1, 2, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's still a push up, but again, at first I think we might see the push down into the area of 574. We could set an alert at 574.13. Maybe it happens during the stream, and then we can. So maybe wave 4 ends. But once we touch that, we can take another look. And that brings me actually to Barnes & Noble Educational, where for the last couple of days I have been proclaiming that we should touch the 845 and potentially go as low as the $8 mark to finish this wave 5 in the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 pattern. Now there's no guarantee that that was the last push, but we can see we briefly went lower. Almost touched the 100% expansion level, which makes this an almost perfect ABC three-wave corrective move so far. And then we went higher. So yesterday, we had to reduce that order a little bit. We see it triggered, and here we only got 7 extra shares to increase our position. But that actually brings up that right now we have around $150 in spare cash. Before that, we had no spare cash. So, which means we can now actually use that to buy more shares in Barnes & Noble Educational. So there is the chance that we get another push down. But again, I think we are in the area where this correction should be finally over. And if that's the case, we would soonish expect, I mean, we're looking at an 8-hour chart. So let's say within the next week or two, we would expect to start to see upwards movement happening here. And considering that, so considering the assumption that we'll see upwards movement happening here soon, in my opinion, we can actually upgrade our Barnes & Noble position and, for example, go to an even 25 shares from our 17. I know it's not a huge portfolio, but so that cost us $70. So we actually could go 5 shares more. So we can go here, so up mid and just buy that. So now we're at an even 30 shares. We still have a net balance, so we're not using any of our excess liquidity or margin. Our average changed a little bit by that. Our average is at $10.54, so obviously higher than where we are. So our average is now somewhere here. However, we have to consider if this whole pattern turns out to be right, we are looking at basically a wave one, wave two, and that wave two could be potentially finished with that spike yesterday. And then our wave three target would be in the area of at least $20, so at least 100% return. But in the usual cases, wave three, although it would take time, I mean, here we're talking what, June, July, August, September, August, so we're talking 2 months, September till October, 1.5 months. So we would talk or consider around like up to 6 months time for then a potential 400% or 500% return here. Yeah, so just wanted to share that. So my SPY assessment turned out to be relatively correct. Yeah, so caught the upwards movement here nicely yesterday. We're going to zoom out here again on an 8-hour chart, although it's going to look chaotic, and we have to reset the spacing. So actually 4-hour chart might serve us better. Yeah. Yeah, so we caught the upwards movement nicely and made a decent profit, an insanely percentage profit, and a still acceptable dollar profit on a small trade using the little available cash that was in the account. Also, what I've been praying for the last couple of live streams, that we should be, especially after this year started to happen, so basically since the 20th of September or so, we've already been forecasting that either this will mark the turnaround point, and then once that happened, that this will here be or is our target area, and yesterday it happened. We'll have to wait and see if it holds, of course, so it's possible that we still get another push. Again, I would only start to worry if we break through the $8 mark, touching it briefly, okay, which means a $10% risk, or a little bit below 10% risk from where we just re-entered or increased our position size. But outside of that, I expect that this will be or should be the end of the corrective pattern, and we will slowly get to see the next wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. That takes us ideally to the 261.8 extension level of this entire wave 1, 2 move, or what I assume is a wave 1, 2 move. Unless I'm proven wrong, well, then it's going to be some investment down the drain. We don't have as much money in there. So again, in total, we have like $300 invested in Barnes & Noble Educational. So we're down by 15% roughly, or not even 15%, or 15% at the moment in that position, which is okay. Which then brings us actually, so the things that go right. Now let's take a look at Novavax, where we are. We'll have to zoom in. Where we got a little bit lower. So again, I would expect that we already are done with the correction. We have a neatly either 1, 2, 3, 4 move here, or 1, 2 move. Either way, we have an impulsive move up here, or a very, very out of, or a very, very weird corrective move that doesn't follow the usual rules and guidelines that we're using at all. Sorry, I forgot to switch my timer. Or to start it even, yeah, so just a second. That was at, okay. Just a second. Yeah. So yeah, I don't think we can go too much lower. That's why I was actually originally also considering if instead of Barnes & Noble, I should enter more in Novavax. But in Novavax, we are pretty much doing an options play, which anyway equals 100 shares. So if I'm right, it's going to be already good enough. And if I'm not right, I'd rather have some exposure in some other assets as well. So overall, from yesterday to today, not the worst results if we consider the how things turned out. Yeah, would be nice to do more of those options plays. However, now again, yeah, like we have like $40 in capital left. We should actually take a look at our. Oh, let's check that. Our GameStop options got bought back yesterday. I did not notice that. That's a little bit of a pity. Otherwise, I would have already sold new ones. So October 11th is until tomorrow. We could make a high-risk move, but we will not. We will go for October 18th, and we'll just, as usual, just collect our premium for selling our 5 covered calls. Yeah, 5 covered calls against our 500 shares, voila, which gives us a little bit of cash, as we can see. And now we can actually use that cash. We're going to do a buy right here. So we're going to use that cash and use at least, I don't know, like a buy. If we buy 4 shares, it would be around $80, so $82. So we're going to buy 4 more shares. So we got an extra 10 shares, basically, just paid for with option premium. Not a lot, since we used a lot of or all of the option premium that we earned from our GameStop options plays so far, also to buy all of the rest that I'm holding, even though some of those things are worthless, like for example SunPower, unfortunately, yeah, declared bankruptcy. So yeah, I could have sold it at some point earlier, and maybe I could still, yeah, I mean, it says market value 0. Yeah, I mean, even if I were to sell that, we can see I would get 82 cents. The commission would be higher, so I'm just gonna hold it for yeah, like until it just removes from the portfolio. Yeah, so yeah, but pretty much everything else we're holding is funded by the premiums that we earn with GameStop. But I decided last week that I will start to do a little bit more buy rights and not just use the premium to make other positions, but use the premium to actually buy shares. And once my original, or once my 500 shares get called away, once we have an upwards move in GameStop, then I will be able, I will still hold 10 shares that I didn't have before. So if it then shoots higher, it will be additional profit. And I will also move those shares eventually to computer share, or maybe if we reach 100 spare shares, use them for writing more covered calls or so. Yeah, we'll see about that. Now again, so Novavax would be interesting to see a push up at some point right now. We need to be looking actually at maybe that checks out. Yeah, so as weird as the whole pattern here is in that small scale, maybe we are indeed now approaching the 161.8. No, 161.8 would already make the pattern almost invalid. Yeah. So, but visually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 could mark the end of the retracement at the 78.6 retracement level. It's one of the usual levels, but not one of the common ones. So common is 38.2, 61.8. Followed by 50%, and then followed by 78.6, and in some cases we have the 28.4 retracement as the whole retracement level for corrective patterns. Yeah, so as said, Barnes & Noble Educational played out as expected so far. Let's see if that indeed was the one dip down that triggered our order quite nicely and will go up from here, or if we'll get another push and have to suffer up to 10% temporary loss on the shares that we bought extra. So we increased our position right now here as well, yesterday at 8.45, and our original position is somewhere from when we assumed that this would be the end of the correction, so somewhere in that area, maybe even higher. Maybe we thought it was a smaller correction, ABC. Yeah. So we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. Now, yeah, then SPY, as said, followed the pattern nicely. Got a nice upwards draft, took some profits. Yeah, nobody ever lost money from taking profits. And even if it shoots up today and I could have made way more, considering theta decay, definitely better to close that I closed the option yesterday. NEO, what's our NEO exposure right now? So we don't have any shares. Oh, we closed NEO, yeah. Yeah, so, and we could potentially be looking at the finished correction at the 38.2 level. However, we only would have confirmation once we break out from here. We're now at $6.16. That could be the next wave 1-2, and then we get a strong upwards move. Could be, doesn't have to be, yeah. Downside is not too big. We still have a little bit of money left, not too much. Actually, no, we are pretty much broke now in terms of spare funds. So we can see that, yeah, we have like $10. We could buy 2 shares. That doesn't get us anywhere. Options. 1 day till tomorrow, not okay. Yeah, we're not gonna make $9 till tomorrow, so, or till next week. That's not gonna happen. $20 option play. Where are we right now? So we're at 6.16, yeah. And if we go up from here, we should potentially, what's the date then there? 18th, the 18th till the 18th of October. Should at least track the $7 mark, yeah. Yeah, but no, we're gonna wait here. I mean, our target would be 9.15. Yeah, question would be till when. So that would obviously be a little bit longer. So probably October 26th or so. Gonna actually check on option strat. So 9.15, but for October 25th. Okay, there would be full call spread. Okay, if we, let's look into that. So if we, for the, what did we say, October 25th, if we sell, buy the $8 call, so strategy, buy the $8 call and sell the $10 call, then it costs us $5, and the profile looks like, yeah, let's say 75% move. So our risk is $7. Yeah, so let's get 10 of those. We should be able to get 10 of those or not. So submit order. Yeah, I'd like to get them for $5 per piece. So if the price now starts moving up and they get more expensive, then it's going to be tricky. But on the other hand, if we get a little bit lower, and just a second, I'm also going to enter the outcome of yesterday's call. So 35 and 5. Okay, and if here we look closer, that might be AB. That's either 1, 2, and we get the next 1, 2, or it's ABC, and we are going to go down. So Yeah, I think the offer with $5 is actually going to be okay. So I'm going to just try to visualize that in, what do we have? Bull call spread for NEO. So, and we basically for October 25th would sell, so $8 call, and it would be 10 pieces of 10. And on the other hand, we sell the $10 call, minus 10. Positions, buy to open, then 10 $8 calls, and sell. Okay, so the whole play would look like this. And if we, so basically we would need to meet the range a little bit higher. So we would need to reach at the end $8.10 to be in profit. And $8.10 would be here. Yeah. So if we are right, if the correction is finished at the 38.2 retracement, then we should by October, yeah, like be here. I mean, there is a chance that that wave turns out longer than this one. Yeah, then we're shit out of luck, but then we might be able to close it already early. Which brings up one thing I'll have to look into, how the hell I can add a trailing stop loss to options. So basically once we reach a certain premium value, that I don't watch it get into negative again, but have it trailing behind. Yeah, so not automatically trigger, but only trigger once it hits the level. Yeah, for that first we need our order to fill. Yeah, and do I want to pay $10 more? Does it make a difference? And I mean, that's now considering actually the wrong prices. Yeah, so the markup here is like not the one that we are paying. We don't know how much we are paying right now or how much we would be paying, because our average would be and how much we get. So until the order fills, or technically if we simulate it properly, it would be we pay 0.05 for this one, but we don't get any, or okay, then say 0.01 for this one, but we pay 0.06. So that would actually replicate it properly. So we can see that actually we only, yeah, $8.10 unchanged. Our target would be $9.15. If that were to happen, we can see that the payout would actually be 20 times our investment. So the risk reward ratio would be grayish. Now, do I want to? Okay, it's probably now even more expensive. Yeah, mid keeps moving. No, we're gonna pay the $6, so we have the options, which now makes it move. Okay, so there, $20 wasted. Still not, because the ask is higher. Yeah, no, never mind. We're gonna make that play for $5. Either it triggers or we're too late for the party. It's okay. We cannot always get it in time. So either that position triggers, we just have to update it to good till canceled. I actually want to fill it today. If we don't fill it today, then we don't want to make that play. Yeah? Now, as said, so NEO, chances are correction is over. No guarantees, but we bounced from the 38.2 level, which would have been the perfect point to buy. Even, and then basically use a trailing stop. So in order to, although the trailing stop would have then triggered here, okay, but one would have made a profit on that trade, or one would have said, okay, I'll wait longer and set the trailing stop once I have a higher or better confirmation. Yeah. Hi, Olga, great to have you here. You're a little bit late, no judgment here. I'm gonna circle back real quick. So just wanted to share. I closed my SPY calls yesterday, is pretty much here. Unfortunately not here. Here they would have been worth a little bit more. I mean, in dollars, it was obviously not that huge of a payoff, I realized. So by closing them here, no, actually here, yeah. So here when that red candle started, so in that area, by closing them here, I realized $170 profit on the $60 risk that I had. And here it would have been $300 profit, yeah. But yeah, wasn't watching the chart actively, so missed that. From the looks of it, by the way, it's possible that we finished our wave. And now we get there, the other move up, yeah. Did we reach our minimum target here? No, we didn't, yeah. So it's possible that we finished wave 1, 2, and then what we traded yesterday was basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave 3. Now we have wave 4 down that could potentially finish or be finished at the 50% line, but could also still have downside to the 61.8 retracement, for example, yeah. And yeah, now I'm also happy about, like yesterday I was a little bit, yeah, but nice if you actually traded that strong move. Congratulations on that gamble, yeah. So yesterday was a little bit torn because like the value of the options increased nicely, and obviously if they would go much higher today, so 582 or so, the value of those same options would be in the 4 digits with like, yeah, middle 4 digits. So was for some time a little bit torn if I should hold them. Was then considering, I mean, actually at that time here, I was considering if I should only sell the 585 calls for $60 or $70 profit to basically make it a free trade. But yeah, then they dropped in value, and then I checked before market close again and just decided, okay, I'm going to take that profit, because if we finish that pattern, then correction incoming, and then it makes it less likely that today we'll have the final waves to actually push us high enough. Yeah, we'll have to see. I think we should go a little bit further down here, maybe reach the 61.8 retracement, but it's possible that the correction is actually finished here on the 50% retracement, in which case we would start to see the next strong upwards movement. But yeah, that about that. Also, Barnes & Noble Education, yeah, also covered it earlier. Yesterday touched the 845 line, went a little bit lower, so we went to 831. And then bounced from there. So decent chance that actually marks the end of the correction. So I got, like, with the pending order that I had, based on the little extra cash that was in the account, 7 extra shares. And today used, so somewhere here earlier today, used profits from the small option play yesterday to buy another 13 shares. And on top of that, I'm currently waiting, but I might have been a second too slow. NEO hit the 38.2 retracement super nicely, bounced from there. And there, the next target based on 1, 2, 3, 4, and that wave 3 is also relatively nice. The next target would be 915. And so I actually wanted to get that option play in. But yeah, I didn't get in for $5 or yeah, $5 per option. And I'm not willing to overpay for the, and it's not even overpaying, but I'm basically hoping that maybe this is some kind of 1, 2 unfinished. We get another push down, so I can get that option play for $5 per option. Or maybe the whole correction is indeed not finished yet, and that turns into some ABC, and then we get a push down. Although then we probably will not see that today, considering that's an 8-hour chart. But yeah, like maybe my option still triggers, but I think that it's possible that the correction finished here. We're within the maximum area for wave C, so A, B, C. We touched the 38.2 retracement, which is one of the usual retracement levels. So it's very, very possible that this marks the bottom, and from here we go up. Now, I obviously got out with my few NEO shares here, so which also wasn't a bad trade, but would like to re-enter now. And yeah, I mean, yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I don't have extra cash available for buying shares, so that's why I figured like making this an options play, risking like $50 total. And if I'm right, getting a, what do I still have it open? So if I would be right and we would reach the 920 mark, getting basically a 20 times payout. And if we, yeah, or earlier close it for a smaller profit. If I'm right, that's the big thing here. Let's bring it over. Yeah. But yeah, we'll have to see if it drops. Yeah. Other than that, yeah, so Barnes & Noble we covered, so behaved well. We'll see. We will see in the next couple of days if indeed that is now the bottom, and we'll go up from here. Yeah, Novavax, as said, potentially the bottom at 78.6. I'm not super happy with that development, but it could still be A, B, and wave C, just that wave C went a little bit higher. With the naked eye, that wave C could be 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, so that would check out. So yeah, we'll see. potentially stronger upward movement in the next couple of days, or me proven wrong. I think if we use some more general trading techniques, a breakout from this downward channel, trend line, whatever, would already be good enough confirmation that we are now on our way further up. Yeah, that's about that. SPY we covered, and I have an alert in case I think we, as said, might get another push down here. So then I would check the option prices again if it's worth to make another short-term play with like $50 or $100 most. Yeah, then what's worth checking out? SMCI seems to be red, so we're still waiting actually for more days to pass or weeks to pass to confirm that this is the bottom of the corrective pattern. In this case, only 21.4, where again, there is an alternative labeling where this is just the beginning of 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 for A, B, and then C takes us to 18. But either way, if that's 1, 2, 3, 4, then wave 4 would still take us a little bit up. And yeah, anyway, we don't have any active exposure there. NVIDIA, yeah, so we are correcting a little bit as we marked on the chart. So we have another 1, 2, 3, 4, I would assume, or from the way we marked it, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So already 5 waves. So today might be green, and then we should maybe get another correction to, we probably already retraced the 21.4%. Yeah, almost. But we probably should get another correction to bring us down to 38.2 here. Yeah, like on a rough labeling here. Yeah, so that's really something rough. But I think that again we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for one wave 2, and we're currently in wave 1 of that third wave. So 1, 2, 3, and that third wave here we're currently wave 1. Might get to see wave 2, although it might retrace not as much. Maybe that's already the entire correction, not even full 1.4%. And then we would form the next 1, 2, 3, 4. So if we break below 134.85, then we can be relatively certain that we're already in the next upwards impulse. Otherwise, I would first assume that we're getting a bigger ABC pattern to take us closer to 38.2. Immersion, okay, dipping a little bit lower. Now we're getting into areas that are not as comfortable. Yeah, it would have been really nice to turn around in that area because we have the 100% expansion and 61.8 retracement levels, but looks like the correction here is dragging on a little bit further. I would assume that this is going to be the last leg of the correction, but then it will have to also play out as some kind of 1, 2, 3, then eventually 4, 5. So maybe we get to see 78.6. I would start to worry once we break below 78.6, then I'll have to do the analysis from the beginning again. Until that happens, I think we are quite good. Yeah. No, it's not loading, but we're anyway above 20 cents. Costs, yeah, unchanged. We're waiting for either a break to the bottom to point out the correction is not finished, or a little bit of a stronger move upwards to point that or confirm that we indeed finished our correction here and are now in the next impulse up. Intel. Intel has a very interesting pattern here on the monthly chart, so which means we're talking about a very, very long development. But if we look here, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 move, or at least visually it looks like this, yeah. Which basically means that is a diagonal because wave 4 enters the area of wave 1 and should be followed by a corrective ABC move, which should bring us at least to the 38.2 retracement. Yeah. Now, again, this is a monthly chart, so it's like hard to trade this. If we look closer, let's go on a 3-day chart. Yeah, then here we have probably 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are currently building an ABC. And then after that ABC, if it's not already finished in that area here, again, we're looking at a 3-day chart now. Hi, sweetie. My better half is tuning in to see what kind of nonsense I'm spewing. So yeah, but basically looks like we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 here. And again, either the correction is already finished in that move or that's going to be ABC. But after that, there should be another 5-wave move up. Yeah. So again, which should take us potentially to the $30 mark. Might be worth keeping an eye on it. I'm not going to set any alerts here, but we're going to just throughout the streams regularly check back here, because there might be either a decent options play, and if there's no decent options play, then yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get shares because the long-term outlook would be that after we reach or finish the retracement that we're going down again. But yeah, once we get another push down here, call options should become cheaper. And if they become cheaper, it might be worth a set as an option play upwards. And on the other hand, once we have a move up here, put options should become cheaper so we can bet against it. Yeah, that's no Intel immersion. We already looked at NVIDIA. We looked at SMCI. Wheeler, 40% up today. Okay. So looks like we finished the correction here, or not. Or we have a 1, 2, 3, 4 situation and get it further pushed down. I'm unsure about Intel, as they might be acquired. I have them in my long portfolio, but who knows? Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean, for me, I mean, to be fair, Elliott Wave principle works very, very well on indices, and on individual stocks, the mileage may vary. Yeah. But if we look on the, not even the monthly, but the yearly chart, then it looks like this, which looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down. ABC, or yeah, like 1, 2, 3, 4. There might be a fifth wave up, but that's a yearly chart. Yeah. And if we look on the monthly chart, the one thing that jumps out is like, so even if on the monthly chart this is 1, 2, 3, 4, then that doesn't check out, because that 4 would need to be a corrective pattern like A, B, C, but it looks more like we have, oh, it might still check out. That's actually a valid point. It might be that we're actually looking at a different picture here, because that looks like a three-way move, which means that might just be a fifth wave that didn't make a new high, in which case the situation might actually be different. Yeah. So, I mean, short term not, because again, short term, I think that we will have upside, but it's possible. Oh my God. Yeah. Like on the dot. Yeah. Like on the dot. I mean, look at this wave A, wave B, although wave B will gonna be, is probably hard to label. Yeah. And then wave C, how low did we get here? 1851. Yeah, like plus minus 4 cents that we hit the perfect wave C target, which actually means that we are very likely looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, and should now actually get a fifth wave. Yeah. So thank you for sharing an alternating or a different opinion. I would not have considered that and would not have noticed the possibility. Yeah. So, and if that's the case, we can see that the minimum price target for that fifth wave would be, oh, and we're looking at a diagonal, yeah, because wave 4 enters the area of wave 1. Now, stop loss could be here at 1203, because if we break that, then there's no valid pattern anymore, or at least no upwards pattern anymore. I mean, that's still like 50% almost, yeah. And however, this is a perfect three-wave move. I actually thought really 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which also fits, at least this part, 5 waves, yeah. This one is anyway hard to label as a corrective pattern. But the thing is, we have a 3-wave move here instead of having a 5-wave move, if this would be 1, so wave 1 downwards, yeah. And if it's yeah, it wouldn't check out there. So like that's actually that's actually the pattern that fits even better. A, B, C, which means we would now, as said, be in the next 5-wave impulse up that offers 100 to 400 or 300% return. And that's the bigger picture on the monthly chart. Yeah. So Although, I mean, here, how long did it take? Is there an option play that's financeable? Yeah, March 20. So there we are talking about 12 years. Yeah, I mean, their options don't go that far. So there's no option play to make to say, like, I want to have an option for in 12 years from now. And then the return is also not as great in quotes. Yeah. So if we consider that we're talking about 300 to 400%, but over 12 years. So, I mean, there are other plays out there, but as a long-term investment, it might really be a good time to get in with a little bit below 50% risk if one puts the stop loss there and the upside is still decent. And on the shorter notice is set, so like 3-day chart, likely first, or actually we can go on a 1-day chart, then we might be clear. No, can even go on a 8-hour chart. Yeah, some kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Correction not finished yet, because there we can see a 3-wave move, so correction not finished yet. So, and if we are here, we're retracing, probably this. So if we go above 24.66, one could enter. Uh, 24.66. And on the other hand, here we retraced 50%, so rule of alternation is useless. Yeah, here we also already retraced 50%, but I think again that there's a push still missing, that we will reach the 61.8. Create alert 21.2. So if we break here, then the correction is already finished, and we're basically potentially, oh no, we're correcting this whole move here, so that one needs to go down actually. Yeah, there we have a nice overlap, 20.66, that would be. So we already have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now we're correcting this, and we have basically, if this is wave A, wave B, then the perfect target would be 2061. The 61.8 retracement is as 2066, and that actually marks the perfect target here. So, I mean, there is the chance that we go a little higher and then we have to adjust it and so on. But right now, I'm gonna answer that in a second, yeah. And right now, I think that's what's gonna happen. I mean, it's not much downside. It's like what, 10%, 15% down. So not worth, in my opinion, to, especially if we're talking about in a week or so where it's like 10, 15% down. But after that, we should get the next upwards movement. And that's considering if this is indeed already not the finished correction. So getting out right now, not a good idea, in my opinion. But if one is not yet in, then getting in at 2066 or 2061, in my opinion, a good idea. In which case, one can have the stop loss here at 18, whatever it is. Yeah. Otherwise, the big scale thing, as mentioned, as shared from the monthly chart, yeah, like is lower at, what was it, $12 or so. Yeah. But yeah, I'm gonna finish that up real quick, and then we can talk about the other stuff. The only things left, I think, so SPY we already covered. Yeah, maybe actually correction finished, and we'll get the other push up now. Although it's kind of like a weird wave C move. Yeah, I mean, there are situations where we have basically A, B, and then C is very, very flat, but a little disappointing here. We didn't even get close to the minimum target. On the other hand, if that's, yeah, that doesn't make much more sense either. So it might be that the correction is actually finished, so that maybe the correction then was like A, B, C, although a very weird wave C, yeah. And now we're getting the next 5 waves move up. We're gonna see. I mean, maybe I'm still proven right, and we'll go lower and hit the 61.8, but I don't think we're gonna enter here anymore. Double checking NEO. Do we get now? No, we're still here in that area, which means my order hasn't triggered yet, and probably, yeah, I mean, might still trigger. So gonna see if that happens today. And then the last thing is actually the Nasdaq to check in with, where we are now still decent piece away from the minimum target for the 5th wave. But on the 4-hour chart, it looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, and then it's the next 1, 2. It's going to be tricky. So yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, I wouldn't play options right now, but if one would want to buy, in quotes, shares, yeah, directly, I think there is more upside still, although as a percentage, we have other things that look more promising and show clearer patterns. But yeah, I think there's more upside. Now, to the questions, I have 2 other short topics. Sharing bandwidth, space as a service, revenue, income. You do that with your GmbH. No. So all that stuff goes into my personal crypto declarations. Yeah, that's mostly because, like, so I'm actually gonna cover the different things real quick. Yeah, so that play, we don't know yet if it happens. So actually, I'm gonna keep that tab for now. So, for example, StoreJ is for cloud storage. And so if you have unused space storage, you can actually share it. And then people that use StoreJ can basically store their data on your drive. Although it's not the full data, but it's only parts of the data and it's distributed worldwide and whatnot. Yeah, so you will be in no way able to view the data that they store and so on. And you get paid based on the usage. So you get paid for every, whatever, gigabyte or terabyte that's stored, depending on how long it's stored. And on top of that, you get paid when people download the data. So if they use it again and download it, and also if some other node needs data from you for repairs and whatnot. So if basically one node goes offline and then a new node needs to be set up the same data so that the minimum number of nodes have what is needed and so on, you get paid for that. But you get paid in a crypto token called StoreJ, or storage actually. Yeah, so StoreJ, storage. And while it's possible to do that in the business as well, but you would need to create a crypto wallet for the GmbH, and then you would need to get your accountants to also consider that. Now, what I can recommend is for the accounting, there is, I'm actually going to share it in case you yeah, like HTTPS. That should be the right link, yeah. So that's my referral link, but you can, if you don't want to use it, then obviously you can just enter in Google Coinly. There you can link your wallets and basically fetch all the transactions, and you can mark the transactions properly as, for example, rewards or bonus or whatever, yeah. And then using it is in generally free for up to 10,000 transactions. You only have to pay once you generate or want to generate your tax report, and then it goes based on how many transactions you have. I'm not sure if they have an official or their pricing page. So basically, you can have 10,000 transactions, but you will not be able to get the forms that you need. Yeah. But then if you have 100 transactions in a tax year, it's $49. If you have 1,000 transactions, it's $99. And if you have 10,000 transactions, it's $300, and then you can pay extra for every 3,000 transactions more that you need. Yeah. Now, StoreJ only pays you once per month. Yeah, if the minimum threshold is met, so you basically fall into the $49 category. But yeah, that's what I mean, you could also do it manually or so, but this way you have a document that you download that you give your accountant, and your accountant has the numbers that he needs. Yeah, especially if you have multiple wallets. Yeah. So, but I don't want to have crypto wallets in our companies at the moment. It's not that in the long run I wouldn't want to do that, but it's all it comes down to the same thing as we talked about the trading part with like the last actually now 2.5 years. So since we surprisingly suddenly realized we are stranded in Germany and had to figure out how to set everything up here, how to organize everything and so on. I just didn't want to deal with that. And so those earnings go into my personal wallet. They are marked as proper rewards transactions, and my accountant for the income tax statement gets the Coinly export. There, all the numbers are summarized and reported that way. But you could also do it. So you would just have to, you create a wallet, and then you just use that wallet solid for your GmbH, and basically it's then a wallet for the GmbH, and with that, then you just have to inform your accountants to consider that, and well done, yeah. So, and storage, kind of like, I was happy with running the node. I was running it on the PC, on the machine that's now our Unraid server. But back then it was a Windows 11 machine that ran that and a few other apps. But in order to set up Unraid, I had to shut down the node and set up everything else. And now I'm considering again if I'm going to enable it or not. I think it's profitable because, right, in my case, it's least profitable. Yeah. So Amazon DE, or actually just block. So those are the. So I'm using those drives, and as you can see, they cost 295. I'm going to answer that in a second as well. So they cost, let's say, 300 euro. Funny enough, if you sign in with an Amazon business account, they cost like 20-30% more. With your personal account, it's 300 euro for an 8 terabyte drive that has an 18 terabyte drive that also has 5 years warranty. And I already had to exchange one of them. They have an address in Germany. You ship the broken drive, you get a new one in a couple of days, and works flawlessly. Yeah. And so basically the point is, if you can make the $300 back in less than 5 years, then you have the situation that if after then the drive fails, then you already are in profit, so who cares? And if it fails within the 5 years, you anyway get it replaced for free. So, and yeah, my personal earnings used to be, I shared them in the blog post, because we're going to share that in the chat. You probably already saw it. And my personal earnings with storage were, as we can see on that screenshot, so in November, 30 euro, then no payout in December, and January another 30 euro, so that's like 15 euro per month. February 18 euro, then no in March, but then so it's like 15 euro per month. So we can see there are some gaps here, yeah. So it's 180 euros per year, but that is with the drive. It wasn't full yet, so from the 18 terabyte, I only shared or only set up 16 and used where, as far as I can recall, maybe 12 or so, yeah. So, but not even full, it was like 180 euros per year. So the drive uses only 8 watts or so in electricity when it's running. So the electricity cost is also not an issue. But initially you earn next to nothing because initially your drive is empty, and then it starts, it has to fill up, which obviously depends on your internet bandwidth. So if you have a slow downstream, it takes time to fill up. Also supply, demand and whatnot, yeah. So the first year or so, the earnings are much lower. So I would consider 2.5 years or so for the drive to break even, which leaves within the warranty another 2.5 years to profit. Yeah? The reason why I haven't set up the new storage node is I don't know yet how much space I have that we don't really need on our Unraid thing. So we have a total of 5 times 18, no, sorry, 4 times 18, yeah, so 4 times 18 terabyte drives in there, so 72 terabytes. But because there is one parity drive usable around 54, and right now I have 6 terabytes free or so, yeah? And not sure if it's worth sharing then, in quotes. I mean, I could still do it, but the other issue is that the machine is here in the office, and when you're running storage, you have to consider there's constant reading and writing going on, so you constantly have the noise from the drive operating, yeah, and that can be quite annoying. So I don't know, if we moved, or if we find a nice apartment and move at some point or so, I might set up my 19-inch rack again. Just here in that apartment, there was no space to do it. and then take that computer apart, put it in a server enclosure, and then the rack is in a separate room, and I don't care about the noise. But right now, yeah, that's like, I probably wouldn't set it up here right now again because of the constant writing noise of the hard drive. Yeah. Other than that, I think it's a cool idea. Now, to answer your question, not concerned about explicit traffic or something. So if we talk about StoreJ, you don't have that issue, because if I would have some illegal movie, yeah, something deplorable, and I would store it on StoreJ, then what would happen is that that movie file would be split up into, I don't know, 50 parts or so. And each part would be stored on, or 500 parts or whatever. It's like partially very, very small parts, yeah. And each part would be stored on multiple nodes, so that even if my node goes offline, the file is still available, yeah. But the point is, it's not never the full file, and it's also like encrypted, so you cannot view it, which means you don't know what's stored there, and nobody else can know, because it's never a complete file. It's only parts of a file, and you will never have all the parts of one file, and so on. So that risk isn't there. There's actually, in my opinion, zero risk. The risk that you have is your hard drive dies before you went into profit. But again, if you have the warranty on the drives, that is like with those here 5 years, then it's not much of an issue, in my opinion, yeah. And I'm confidently recommending those because, I mean, they're also linked in the blog post, yeah. But since I already had to replace one, and that was running 3 years or so, and also that was actually running the original storage node. And then after I set up Unraid, I saw that it has reading errors and decided to give the replacement process a try. And yeah, process works flawlessly, get a new drive, no discussions, yeah. And yeah, so that's that. Now, yeah, then what wallet, what is MetaMask? No, wallet is MetaMask, yeah. I mean, I have a MetaMask wallet. So you have to differentiate between hot and cold wallets. Yeah, a hot wallet is basically anything that's connected to the internet, which would be like MetaMask, which is a browser extension. I don't have it set up on this computer, but on my main MacBook. Yeah, but it all depends on the amounts you're dealing with. Yeah, I also have the Ledger Nano S, so the hardware wallet with Bluetooth, which also works with MetaMask, but the point is that the private keys for the wallets are only stored on the device, so they are never stored on the computer, which means no virus, exploit, hack, or so can ever fetch those keys from me, which means nobody can clean out my wallet. And the way it works with MetaMask is basically I still use the MetaMask wallet to integrate with every service I'm using to exchange whatever storage into, I don't know, USDC, for example, or whatnot, yeah. But for every transaction, I have to actually confirm it on the physical wallet, so on the hardware wallet. Yeah, it depends on the amounts you're talking about, because obviously, if you only are going to earn $5 per month, spending $200, or I don't know what's the current price of the Ledger wallets, on a hardware wallet doesn't make sense, but it's the safer thing. Yeah, so you could also just create a wallet in MetaMask, and it's a hot wallet because the private key is shown to you on a machine that's connected to the internet. And then you could later, once you made some money from the crypto stuff, buy yourself a hardware wallet and then still have your earnings regular coming to the hot wallet, but then once per month transfer them into your cold wallet. So yeah, but that's what I mean. So even if it would be some kiddie porn or some other illegal and deplorable shit, it would not, I mean, other than I don't know what kind of measures StoreJ has in place to prevent it in the first place, but it would never be fully stored at all. So it's like the data that's on your drive, you cannot do anything with it. So even if the police shows up and takes the drive, they will not be able to find any kind of picture, image, or whatever, because it's not like with Google Drive where you drag an image and then there is an image visible. It's like it's taking that file apart and then saving it in smallest parts on different nodes, and you need all the parts combined to be able to reconstruct the file altogether. Yeah, and then you have to consider that even if there would be some legal repercussions, you can easily prove that you had nothing to do with it because you were just running a hosting service. Yeah. Now the one issue that there is, that's one thing to consider. Yeah, is that it might be seen as a Gewerbe, so it might require, having it in the GmbH might actually be the smartest move. Although, again, you might have to register some kind of Gewerbe and pay then, not income tax on it, but Gewerbesteuer and whatnot on the revenue that you generate this way, which might not make it worth the hassle with one hard drive. So again, for me, just everything right now goes into the personal wallets. And if the Finanzamt ever makes an issue about that, I would shut down. I mean, Storage is anyway shut down right now with the switch to Unraid, but I would then just stop doing it if I were doing it right now, because it's not worth the hassle unless you set up a big server. But a big server has the problem that it would take you ages to fill up unless you have, like, I don't know, like a separate internet connection for each separate hard drive, so that it can fill up simultaneously. And that then would then cost you also an internet connection more. So yeah, like, so you definitely also talk to your accountant about if you would need to register a separate Gewerbe for that part or whatnot, yeah, to see if it's worth it. Yeah? But from a legal perspective, at least in my opinion, I don't see any issues, because if there would be some data stored that's, I mean, it's anyway impossible, or yeah, maybe possible, like if you have the fractional, if you, out of the, I don't know how many thousands of partial files on your drive, if somebody manages to pick the right parts to then reconstruct, I don't know, 5 pixels of an image or so, so it might be possible to reconstruct a fractional piece of the data if you would even have the information what belongs together how. And even then, you can easily prove it's not your data. You didn't save it there. You're just offering the hosting space, and you're doing that as part of a bigger network. And yeah, I consider something I don't use my office internet line a lot yet could make use of that somehow. Yeah. Now, as for the other services, so I'm also running, for example, Honeygain and PawnsApp and Mysterium Network. Yeah. There you obviously have a theoretical risk. So there's a longer list of services, and I've been running all of them, but right now I'm running those free. And over the years, I only once got actually here in Germany, or actually once, yeah, twice, but within a short period, so I count it as one incident, an email from Vodafone that there is some malware or bot network on our network, yeah. So and then I shut down all the services and I started them one by one again with a couple of weeks in between. Now I have those free running and I don't have a single report or issue from Vodafone, yeah. But when you run PawnsApp, Mysterium, or Honeygain, then technically you allow other users to use your internet connection. So people that are paying Honeygain can then say, I want to use a proxy server in Germany, for example, and then the traffic gets routed through down to my Unraid computer that's running Honeygain, and then from there to the internet, which obviously means that there is the technical risk if they do something illegal that then the police investigates, Vodafone tells them my internet connection, and they knock at the door here, which might cause inconvenience. But I have to say, I've been running those services for, like, I don't know, 3 years, 4 years, whatnot, yeah. And the only one incident that I had was the Vodafone information email that there is some kind of botnet on our network, which again, shutting down all the services and starting them one by one, so far running those free, was not an issue. And yeah, so you get paid there as well in cryptocurrency. So Honeygain also offers PayPal payouts, but there you earn 10% less, and you can only get the payouts once you reach $20. Whereas when you get paid in crypto, you get 10% more, and it's instantly. So whatever amount in cents you earn is instantly in your wallet. Yeah. So I mean, you still have to click a withdraw button from time to time, but you don't have any minimum amount. And PawnsApp also pays out either with PayPal, as you can see there, I had a PayPal payout in the past, or in Bitcoin. And yeah, those all just also go into my personal wallet. And Mysterium pays out in Mysterium tokens. Honeygain, yeah, I mean, the earnings are nice, but that's because of the referrals that we're having. Yeah, so we have around 10,000 referrals in Honeygain. So we make around $2,000 per year from Honeygain. So it's not a fortune, but technically I could, with that money, replace that machine every year and build it new or so. So it's years of having content online that talks about Honeygain. So the videos that I made over the last couple of years, and that just, yeah, like the payouts are nice. If you run it on your own, the official statistics are that it's like the average is like, if I recall it correctly, it's 40 days to the first payout. But if you use Honeygain itself, so on the mode where you get paid via PayPal, you get a $5 sign-up bonus, and then you have basically only to earn $15. So if you say $15 divided by 40 days, so the average earnings for a single user would be around, again, average. It varies by country a lot. And if it's running on a mobile device, on a Windows computer, or on a Linux system, but average would basically be then $136 per year. Not a lot, but if you have a machine that's running 24/7 anyway and is connected, then it basically covers maybe half the electricity cost or all of the electricity cost, depending on the machine or so, without any referrals. Yeah. And in my opinion, the smartest thing to do with things like Honeygain is like sign up, run in the Honeygain mode where you get the $5 bonus because that equals 25%. Yeah. So which is better than the 10% crypto bonus until you have the $20 mark reached. So you can make one withdrawal with PayPal for the $20 and then switch to the crypto mode where you get a permanent 10% bonus. And once you get the first payout, just document that. So take screenshots of actually receiving the payout and then just share it on your social media and with your friends, in quotes. Yeah. Because they have mobile apps for iOS, although the iOS app is crappy because it needs to run in the foreground, but for Android, the app is super, can run in the background. They have Docker containers that you can run, Windows apps, blah, 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 macOS app and whatnot. Yeah. And so basically, once you verified yourself that there is no issue and you get paid, share your referral link with the payout proof on your social media platforms, and this way get a couple of referrals. And since you get like, I think they increased the referral commission even to 20% or something like that. So but even at 10% referral commissions, if you get 10 additional users, you basically double your earnings. Yeah. And yeah, but even without, Honeygain is not bad. PawnsApp is, yeah, like, I mean, I haven't been running it for some time because I said I shut down all the services to then start them one by one again with weeks between. And now, I mean, if you see here, that was like, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if I had it running between 2022 because that's when we arrived in Germany roughly, or stranded here, in 23. And I didn't have it running sometime this year, but there in between. So you can see that it took me like 4 months to make $9 on my own. Yeah. So that's like $2.50. So it's like $25 per year for me here running it. And there are also the referral earnings make the difference. So referral earnings, as we can see, are a little bit higher. So yeah. And Mysterium network is nice because it's a VPN stuff, and they actually allow you to enable what you want to share. And they have like B2B traffic so that you can enable where you can be, I don't know, like you can at least assume that the chances that somebody uses that to do something illegal are very, very, or a lot less likely than if you enable it to the general public that uses Mysterium. Yeah? And the payout, as you can see, for me is roughly €4 or $4 per month. So like, yeah, like roughly almost every week now, actually. Or I mean, there's a month actually. Yeah, and actually, it's like $12 per year if we look like that. Although September seems to be better. So September we see maybe something changed on my setup or so. Yeah, like, or on the demand. So the payouts now seem to be more frequent with like almost €2.50 in a month for September. But yeah, so I think like from all the apps, like based on the numbers that I know, Storj, if you have spare storage, and Honeygain are the ones that make the most sense. But PawnsApp and Mysterium are the ones that I've also been running for a very, very long time already without any issues. So even though they don't add a lot to the payouts, it's still extra money if you anyway have the machine running. And yeah, like So I see why not. Yeah, I mean, but again, in Germany, you have to consider the tax perspective, because if you do that, you obviously do it with the purpose or the intent to make a profit, which makes it actually a business venture, which theoretically would require you to register a Gewerbe, so a business. And even in the GmbH, then the question would be like, it's not crypto mining because you're not mining. Yeah. So the question would be what kind of Gewerbe you would need to register and what kind of fees that then brings with it, and if it's then worth it at all or not. Yeah. Or if you run it personal and yeah, like you just report your crypto transactions properly, and that's that or so. Yeah. So but yeah, and I think with that we covered all of that. Yeah. So service revenue income, you do the, yeah, exactly. And paperless. Yeah. What is paperless? Paperless is document managing. Yeah. So docs. So, and I'm not gonna go into detail because those are our documents, but it looks like this. And I have a network folder set up where I can just drag files if I want to. I also have my printer configured, so the scanner to scan into a specific folder. And what happens is then it automatically processes incoming files. So those are all scans, for example. And then you have correspondence that you can create. You have text that you can assign. You have document types that you can create, storage paths, yeah, which in my case are for our different entities and whatnot, and you have custom fields and whatnot. Yeah. And what it does is basically, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna zoom in, or I'm gonna try to pick something that's not super relevant. Yeah, like that's some. So I dumped all the PDFs that we had on Google Drive, since I moved Google Drive into Nextcloud, yeah, and our own hosted version, and therefore there are also some marketing stuff in there. But what it does is basically it scans everything in, and once you have configured it, it's like mine is set up to automatically apply an inbox tag to everything that's new. So it means I still have to review the document. Yeah, it has text recognition in multiple languages, so it also recognizes the Russian and Ukrainian documents we have and so on. And then you just go edit and you just start to assign things. I mean, that's just a style document, yeah, so it's not really relevant, and I probably will end up deleting it. I'm just working my way through the thousands of documents that I initially dumped into it. So every day I deal with like 50 documents. And so, but if that were an invoice, I would say invoice, yeah, and then I would say, okay, from whom is the invoice? So I would say, I don't know, from this and that company, yeah, and then I tag it also as an invoice, or I document type invoice. And then I would say, okay, it's an invoice for GmbH. And then I would say it's, for example, an incoming invoice. Yeah. And I would just say save. And when I save, it automatically removes the inbox tag. And that's that. Yeah. Now, once you've done a document, so if I close that one, close document without saving. So if we go on page 7, or yeah, like so here, I'm not going to zoom in on those because those are all personal documents to some extent. Yeah. But for example, I already tagged a couple of my bank statements. So if I were to click on edit for this document here, it already, actually, I'm going to drag this over to the site and see if I can find a document that I don't mind showing. Yeah. Yeah, there, that one. So I'm going to circle back. So here we have an Amazon invoice. And because I already tagged some Amazon invoices, it already has the suggestion that this is actually the correspondent is Amazon Media. Yeah. Because I created them before and I tagged similar invoices. So it recognizes that's an invoice because, or that document matches based on that. Amazon invoice personal, on my personal name, that address is not up to date. So, I mean, if you want to send mail there, I will not get it. And that I tag it with invoice incoming. Yeah? And the date usually already matches. In this case, it picked that's the title. So I would still need to name it, for example, invoice or Rechnung or whatever. And the date is Bestelldatum, Lieferdatum, yeah, so Rechnungsdatum. So the date is actually one day off. It picked the order date, and I can fix that with a click. And I click save. Usually I would click save and next, so it goes to the next file for me to process, but I don't want to do that. And yeah, that's it. And then so I'm going to close that. Within the documents, I can obviously search for anything. So I can either say, show me all documents from ActiveCampaign, yeah. And then, no, I don't want to see invoices, but that there are only invoices. So yeah, that's all there is, yeah. Or I could show, so reset the filters. I can just search for something. So I can enter, for example, passport, and it finds everything where the word passport is in there. Yeah, and then I can narrow it down and say, okay, but I only want the ones I actually want to see my passport. I mean, I already see it here. but I only want to see in that thing, it would be from the embassy in Kiev that issued my passport. Voila. So apparently I have 3 scans of my passport, which means I could actually already delete some of them, which I'm not going to do right now. But yeah, so it's like super cool, and it's set up for me that I can reach it from anywhere. So, which means I have access to all the documents at any time, no matter where I am, in a way that I can also quickly search for what I need. Yeah. Certain documents, like when the insurance confirms how much we paid in health insurance and so on, or when I get a tax statement from a broker or from the bank or so, I tag with tax relevant. And when it's then time to file taxes, I can filter by that tag and by the period and have all the documents in one go. There is also, each document has a unique number that you can give it in paperless, yeah, and then you could, that's something that we didn't do yet, you can see the folders that I'm actually going to switch the scene since we're not looking at the chart, yeah, so you can see all our folders. They're obviously sorted, so there's a folder for insurances, and there's a folder for, I don't know, like travel expenses, and then there's a folder for this and so on, which means they're also not used efficiently, because like you might get a new folder for some new category, but then you have 2 documents in that folder until it eventually fills up, yeah. So you can assign a unique number for each document in paperless, and theoretically you could just write that number on the document. So for the ones where you still need to keep the physical copy, yeah. And I'm currently just going through all the documents that I dumped from Google Drive. And once that is all done, I'm actually going to scan the entire folders, and I'm going to just replace the small folders with big folders, and then just label the documents. So document 1, document 2, document 3, and that will only be for the documents where we keep physical copies. And then in paperless, I can enter the number, or I can write the number for the scan, okay, whatever. Let's say my birth certificate is document 1, and then in paperless, I would also store it as document 1. And then the folder would only be labeled number 1 to number 700, for example. So it doesn't matter what kind of document it is. I don't have to make sure that my insurances are next to my insurances. I just scan it, give it, if I want to keep the physical copy, give it the next number, and put it as next document into the folder. And if I need to find the physical document, I just search for the document in paperless, where it's easy to find because I can filter by so many things, tags, correspondent, categories, whatnot, yeah. And then it tells me it's document number 57. So I take the folder that contains the range where 57 is in, look for the 57th document, and voila, yeah. So it will make using the folders more efficient because you can fill them up to the brim then, and you don't care about if your rental agreement is next to your TÜV statement, next to your next bank statement or so, because you will always be able to find what you're looking for with a quick glimpse in paperless. And yeah, that's the ultimate level, yeah. And yeah, I'm running it on Unraid, yeah. So it's like Unraid it has a steep learning curve, and our setup is pretty much done now. I mean, I still have like 30 services that I want to set up, but like the essentials are running. And I actually, so we had Google Drive, or we still have. I still have to cancel that, yeah. And the problem is our Google Drive expenses already go above $1,000 per year, because we have 12 terabyte of data there. Yeah? Now, if I want to have another 5 terabyte of data, I would have to pay for an extra user, which costs $400 in a year, whereas an 18 terabyte hard drive costs €300 one time. Yeah? So, but that obviously, and there I also have parity. So if one drive dies, my data is not gone. If 2 drives die right now, then I would lose the data on one drive, worst case, yeah. If I build a bigger case with more drives, I can have 2 parity drives, and then it's not that bad and whatnot. Then 3 drives could die at the same time and whatnot, yeah. But because that's just an offline solution, which is great because it also makes working for us faster, because I'm not limited by our 50 megabit upload, but I can use the full 1 gigabit network speed that we have internal for moving files and whatnot. But it has the downside that when we're not at home and I need something, I'm limited by the 50 megabyte upload, because then if I download it from here, it's uploading it through the 15 megabit and sending it to me. But also, what if there is a fire or a break-in or something? Unlikely, but still possible. So we got a Dropbox account instead, and we pay 600 euro per year for 15 terabyte of storage on Dropbox. And I mean, it's still backing up, because it's like the backups are obviously 12 terabytes of data, yeah. And with the 50 megabit, it takes weeks to finish the backup. But I basically have a script that once per day, it, yeah, actually it's running right now. I'm gonna have to stop it, yeah. So sorry for that, because the issues. So stream quality should improve in a second again. So yeah, so I have a backup script that runs at 4:30 actually every day. So after the stream usually is already done, and that backs up all the different containers that I'm running on Unraid with their configuration and so on, and uploads them to Dropbox, plus also stores them on a location on Unraid itself. And after that, it starts to back up our Nextcloud and Paperless and so on, also to Dropbox. And it's using the same folder structure that I'm using in Nextcloud, so that basically if we are remote and for some reason I could not connect to Unraid, or for some reason the connection would just be too slow, I can just log into Dropbox and access the data there. Yeah. Now, obviously not paperless. All the documents are, I mean, the documents are also within the Dropbox, but I wouldn't have the same interface if we are offline for some reason or the machine burns down. But the documents are all there in the right folder structure, so I can still find them, and I could set up a new paperless installation and import them, but already based on the right folder structure. So yeah, so I think it's a cool thing to do. And for us, the computer uses like 300 euro in electricity per year. It also serves as a media server, so replacing Netflix and some other services. And a lot of things are pretty much everything is fully automated, yeah. Or like, I mean, some things I will have to adjust once the initial backup is done, because right now I'm just backing up from here to Dropbox. But once the initial backup is done, I will actually switch that to BySync, so that it actually, if I change something in Dropbox, it also synchronizes it down. And I will still have the failsafe that Dropbox has a trash bin, so if I delete everything by accident, I can still restore it from the Dropbox trash bin. And as a net result, it's around 50% cheaper, since we still have to pay for Dropbox, than what we paid for Google Workspace or Google Drive, yeah. And it's much faster, because we can use, when we're working at home, the full 1 gigabit transfer speeds compared to having to upload things with a 50 megabit connection, yeah. And yeah, I think it's a cool setup and a cool use for the machine. And as I said, since it's running 24/7, running the bandwidth sharing stuff on it to make some extra money, also not bad. I mean, without the referral earnings, we obviously still pay for electricity. With the referral earnings, I wouldn't have to run the apps myself anymore, and it still already covers the costs, yeah. But yeah, I think that pretty much sums it up. I'm sorry for going so much over time there. It's like a topic I enjoy very much, and I try to blog about the stuff that I'm doing from time to time. So when there is something that's worth sharing, in my opinion. And yeah, and I think like the stuff with the bandwidth sharing is, I mean, one thing to consider, it's technically a violation of your terms with your internet provider, unless you have a business connection, because they obviously don't allow you to sub-rent your connection, which you're technically doing. But I have yet over the years, and considering all the content I made about those apps on my YouTube channels, I have yet to see a single person that reports that their provider made any fuss about it or even noticed it. So I've also yet to see a single person that had any legal issues, other from some super weird claims that don't check out or don't even make any sense when you read them. So like a handful of super weird claims that are very often claiming to have issue with that provider, but with that other provider, it works for years without anything. Yeah. So, but yeah, anyway, that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna call it a day here. I need to like drink something, and then I need to finish up some other project, which fingers crossed I will manage today. Making a lot of progress with a lot of things lately. It's nice. My backlog gets smaller. Trading's been going nice. It was nice to have that option play from yesterday, even though it was only $160, $170 in profit, but profit is still profit. It's also nice today, while we started slightly in the red, if we switch back to the desktop for a final second, account is slightly in the green right now. Yeah, we're gonna finalize this so SPY might have another push down. This might be some kind of ABC move and we get still a push down, or it's wave 1, 2 and we'll get the push up. Either way, we're gonna stay out of it for now. And no, not NVIDIA, Novavax. Yeah, we might tomorrow have the breakout on the chart or not. And Barnes & Noble Educational, that's gonna be the one. Yeah, we also might know already more tomorrow. Ideally, we're just going to add a trend line here to end the stream. Ideally, we would want the breakout from this line here. Yeah, so oops. So whoever wants to play it safe should wait until we break this line and then enter. But personally, I think that bounce was nice. Yeah, and that's pretty much it for today. So yeah, Olga, thanks for stopping by. Akashi wasn't here today. Yeah, but my lovely wife stopped by for a second in between, but she's already gone. And yeah, I hope you have a pleasant rest of the evening since it's already 5 now. And see you then and everyone else, I guess, tomorrow then at 5 minutes before market open for another